Thank you very much, and thank you, BU, for all your support. I actually will talk about this research that I'm about to present to you. It was first seen through the Emancipator, which is a collaboration between Boston University and the Center for Anti-Racist Research. And so this is my second time with BU presenting today. But as was stated, I study black majority cities, places where the share of the black population is 50% or higher, and you can see there are a lot of them. There are more than 1,200 throughout the United States. Most are concentrated in South, but you can see they move up the eastern seaboard. I think there are a few left out west, but those are diminishing in numbers. I study the assets within each and every single one of those dots, the homes, the infrastructure, the businesses, the things that if you invested in, you would see economic and social mobility. But today I'm going to focus on life expectancy. And the reason why should be clear, obvious to everyone here, that it encapsulates the non-biological and biological factors in our lives. Now, I'm going to show you the Black Progress Index. Now, it's an interactive dashboard that allows us to see those social factors, not the biological ones, but the social factors. It came through a partnership with the NAACP. And our mission is to strengthen the assets in those dots I showed you earlier that will increase life expectancy and well-being. But we want to look at strength. We want to look at the places where people are living well. And so rhetorically and practically, we want to find out where are solutions. If racism is a given and it's occurring all across the United States, the places where people are thriving can give us an indication how people are beating racism back. So that's the theoretical engine behind this research, and I encourage everyone to get online and go through the index themselves. You can click on your metro or county to see your outcomes, and I'm going to show you a little bit of the Boston area outcomes. But I failed to mention my colleague Jonathan Rothwell of Gallup, who's been my writing partner on this project and my writing partner over the last few years. Okay, and I mentioned some of this. Again, the emphasis is placed on strength, and differences in life expectancy are assumed to reflect the efficacy of different civic actions. So, I mean, it is my fundamental belief that people are creating better conditions. Just some of the methods we downloaded as many databases as possible, from U.S. Census to Fed Reserve databases, Facebook databases, Redfin. So, and then because we use a machine learning algorithm to analyze those variables, as many people in this room know, that it just allows you to, particularly if you're taking an atheoretical approach like we did, just to look at as many variables impact on a dependent variable. We looked at life expectancy at birth. Then we categorize those variables in specific areas, and I'll show you what those are. This is what the dashboard, the initial index looks like. Again, you can go on that first dial is what we expect. It's a predictive model. This is life expectancy for black people. And on the right dial is the actual. So our model was highly predictive. You can look at the paper to see our R values, but very highly predictable. On the far right, those are the most influential factors on life expectancy. Again, this is an atheoretical model. We essentially threw everything in the pot and found what's the most influential factors on life expectancy. And I'm going to go through those lines. But three of the variables won't surprise anyone here. Median household income, home ownership rates, and business ownership rate. That was a factor. So business ownership is actually good for our health. Some of the social and human capital things. Now, this one may surprise people. The share of black foreign-born. The higher percentage of black foreign-born, the more predictive and additive it is on life expectancy. Some of the others will not surprise: performance on math scores, higher education attainment. We found that your social network. So we infused the Facebook data, and we found the mean distance of your Facebook friends in a county or a region with a positive impact on life expectancy, or predictive positively on life expectancy. Now, what was negative, which is a little surprising, is religiosity, and that's measured by the memberships divided by the population. Now, I'll just briefly talk about that, because the last time I presented this, I got a lot of tomatoes thrown at me, somewhat. But in general, remember, this is correlation, not causation. Going to church doesn't necessarily cause you, cause a region to have lower health outcomes. But we generally know that church goers are more likely to be obese. But I also think that there's a suffering that people, suffering that occurs that compels people to go to church. So people may be hurt going to church. And then I do believe that this idea of giving it all up to God, putting it all in Jesus' hands, so to speak, is antithetical to positive health behaviors. But that's something we're going to explore in the future. Each one of these sectors deserves deeper exploration for sure. Oh, safety, gun-related fatalities was a negative drag on life expectancy. No real surprises there. It really popped as one of the biggest negative drags on life expectancy. Walkability was a positive. So if you live in walkable neighborhoods, if we have a lot of that, so it's positive on life expectancy. Again, I don't think that's a surprise. Family health. We do not share around family composition. Again, this is not to blame or to say cause, but it did pop on in terms of predictability for life expectancy. Children who don't live with their father. Now, clearly, you saw income as one of the positive predictors. Without question, we see black fathers actually spending as much time with their children as other parents. However, the separation from fathers and sons really divides income and wealth in significant ways that have a drag on life expectancy. And in the environment, two variables, again, were highly predictive. Air pollution takes away years of life, and population density. This is interesting because a lot of urbanists really see the value in density. However, for black life expectancy, it was negative. I'll briefly give some commentary on that. I think the innovation, the social things that come along with density are essentially being blocked, so segregation is real in our highly dense communities. And you can see here the strength of each. Percent of black foreign-born, highly predictive. Home ownership rates are high. And then going down to the negative, we have black firearm fatalities and religious adherence per capita. So I want everyone to just dig deep and look at and speculate, because what we want to do is really ask why these things emerged. And I'm just going to close out with some Boston numbers. Again, this is comparing black people to black people throughout the country. Black people in Boston are living a long time. So we predicted 79. It's actually, so that's very close. Close to 80 years old here in Boston. Again, there are lots of places, hundreds of counties where black people are living well over national averages, well over. Again, when you look at compare black people to white people constantly in the aggregate, it masks what's going on in the local communities. My goal is to go to these places, say what's going on, because if you pay attention, New York, I mean that's Brooklyn. People are living long in Brooklyn, and there's Democratic places, there's Republican places, there's large and there's small. So that provides me with that suggests to me that people are making differences, are having impact on their own well-being. Now here's the flip side. There are lots of places where life expectancy is well under 70. Well under 70. And you can really see in terms of environmental issues, in terms of gun fatality, in terms of home ownership, just low they perform low in each and every one of those areas. And so, but here, I just want to point out, and just to re-emphasize the point, if you go back, there is no way black people are different across the country, I mean, biologically speaking, but we're seeing wildly different outcomes. And this is a map, dark purple shows you where people are living longer. A light purple is where people are living less. I mean, you can see in the South, people are struggling. I don't think that's a coincidence to the history and the resources put into the things that we talked about today. Let's see, Boston area wealth. Man, it's 92nd percentile in income. But in terms of home ownership, fairly low. So there's an area that I think there's an opportunity for growth. You got the income, but not necessarily the home ownership. And black business ownership rate is high. So again, that's an area where I would love to animate those positives by addressing that negative. Human capital, higher education rate here is high for black people. Elementary school performance, decent, not the best. Facebook friends, distance, very high. Religiosity is high, but it seems like those other areas mitigate the negative impacts. And the share of foreign-born, very high here. And it certainly is a place for higher education. That's understandable. And then I'm going to close out. Low in gun fatalities. This is per 100,000, just very low. And again, a lot of places wherever I go talk about these data and they say, oh, gun violence is a problem. And I want people just to see relative to other black places, maybe not. I mean, every shooting death matters. It's a cost on municipal finances, on families, emotions, but there, some places are doing a lot better around these issues than others. And so we just need to pay attention to that. And then family health. More than half of black fathers, and I'm not trying to make a normative statement here. More than half of black fathers actually live with their children, which is higher than most places. I mean, much higher than most places around the country. And then in the environment, it's not as bad in terms of population. I mean, in terms of air pollution, not great. And then density is highly dense here. And then this is what we ultimately found. This is what it looks like in Boston, 79, close to 80 years old. And so, but on many places, we emphasize this. I really like to look at this left-hand side box. If you score what your expected score, whether it's significantly higher or lower, or no, I'm sorry, I should say, the second dial in the box, if the actual is significantly higher, that's a good thing. You're beating expectations. If it's significantly lower, that's a problem. And certainly that could be a result of error. But we're looking at those places in a qualitative way to say what's going on in those places where not only are people living longer, but they're beating expectations. So with that, I thank you for running over, but thanks a lot.